In the News. Good evening and welcome to In the News, the talk show about current events in the news. After the latest scandal about the methods some newspapers and magazines will use to get hold of photos and a story, we are going to discuss the question of privacy for famous people. My guests this evening are Andrew Bradley, the editor of the Daily Post, one of the newspapers involved in the scandal.
Good evening.
And Christine Davis, the director of Privacy International, a charity that campaigns for more privacy for people in the public eye.
Good evening.
Christine Davis, let me start with you. Do you think that we need better laws to control the press?
Well, in my opinion, certain newspapers and photographers have no respect for the privacy of public figures, and they will do anything to get a story or an exclusive photograph. This situation has been going on for years, and stars live in fear of stories being printed about them that are simply not true.
But don't you think we, the public, are to blame for that? Isn't it our fault that the papers are full of these sensational stories? If we didn't read them, they wouldn't be published.
I can't really agree with you on that. I think that is asking too much of the press. Tabloid newspapers and popular magazines compete with each other for readers and advertisers, and the best way to beat the competition is to print the most sensational or exclusive stories. They are what sells newspapers. The only way to stop the press spying on people's private lives is to make the laws tougher.
Andrew Bradley, what do you say to this suggestion?
As you can imagine, I disagree with Christine Davis completely. Free speech is one of the most important aspects of our democracy, and freedom of speech only works with an independent press. I do not want to live in a country where we don't have a press that is free to report what it wants. And
I'm sorry to butt in, but freedom of speech does not give the press the right to snoop about in people's dustbins or photograph their children on the way to school. The fact is, that's just plain sensationalism and doesn't have anything to do with freedom of speech.
Well, if I could just finish what I was saying, I believe that they are all part of the same thing. And can I just make one more point? The people we are talking about are people who live their lives in the public eye, and what they do is of interest to the public, and so we should be able to report it.
Can I just interrupt you there for a moment? The thing is, do we really need to know about divorces or what so-and-so's children wear to school? Isn't that just a private matter?
Well, you might not like everything we print, but we shouldn't forget that stars need the press to boost their careers. Being successful in show business means being in the news, creating publicity all the time. And they employ publicists to do this for them. They have Facebook pages, websites for their fans, they tweet their followers regularly, they upload videos to their dedicated YouTube accounts.
And yet you still follow them around with your paparazzi. Why can't you just leave them alone?
But the point is that they don't want to be left alone. Why do you think there are paparazzi waiting outside nightclubs to see which couples leave together? Because the star's publicist has given them a tip-off. That's their job.
I don't believe that's true at all.
Well, believe me, it is true in many cases. Any publicity is good publicity, and a star who is not in the news is no longer a star.
OK, let's just stop there for a moment and take our first telephone caller. And that's Bob Wingwing.